Pause Live, the UK's largest menopause event. Get solutions to your symptoms. Meet over 70 brands and laugh out loud at our live stage. Plus, free taster sessions in our wellness hub. Come and connect with your tribe. Tickets are from just $10.99. Get your sparkle back and head over to pauselive.com.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Alessia.
Lovely.
Corrieri. It's so lovely to meet you. I want to introduce you to Debbie and Natalie. I mean, I've been coming to your clinic, PH clinic, Precision Clinic in London, and it's been a fascinating journey for me. Which we can talk about now, but can you tell us how you came to join the PH Clinic and the journey, your own journey, please?
Yeah, so I actually started out in research before I went into clinical medicine, and I carried on with an interest in genetics. I did all my training in London, and then a friend introduced me to Dr. Mansour, who's our lead geneticist. And he explained all the amazing work that he's doing using genomics to personalize healthcare and to improve healthcare outcomes. And I was just completely sold. So I was like, right, I'm all in. And that's how Precision Health Clinic started in the UK.
Because they have got clinics all over the world, haven't they?
Yeah, so our flagship sort of starting point was actually in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and we grew initially there, and then interest sort of budded up all over the place in the Middle East and on from the Netherlands and now in London.
So what does Precision Health Clinic do? What do you do?
So we're slightly different to sort of an average doctors in that we start by doing people's genomics. So we take a saliva sample and send it off, and then we do their full blood panel. And then once we have all that information back, we approach people's health concerns in quite a tailored, specific way. So we actually started in the perimenopause, menopausal area, because we realized that a lot of women were just getting a sort of one-size-fits-all HRT protocol. So we looked at the genomics of how women were making their estrogen and progesterone, how they're breaking it down, how they're eliminating it, and then created more tailored protocols based on that. But also looking how everything else with women's health integrate into those sex hormones. So there's no point kind of having a look at somebody's estrogen if you're not taking into consideration their sleep cycle, their stress hormones, their vitamin D levels. So we sort of put it all together and create a personalized protocol for our patients.
It's really interesting for me because when my bloods and saliva came back, and you did the sort of the roadmap of my health, overall health, there was some really interesting things that Dr. Mansour told me, which was that, you know, I've got very fortunately got the gene for longevity. And so he delivers the good news first, presumably. But that was very
good genes for longevity, actually. You had a full deck of hands of good genetics.
Yeah. Oh, really? That was so fantastic. But I mean, and looking now at the follow-up with all of the different things, the recommendations, I'm very excited with that. And it's really motivated me to actually start doing a sort of an intermittent fasting, which was really recommended as well. So I think that and not drink alcohol very much. Would you say?
Sorry, did I laugh at that?
I know the first thing he said to me was, "Do you drink alcohol?" Oh, hardly at all.
Yes.
Just the odd one every day.
Well, I mean, sometimes a glass with friends, I think, has its own protective value, you know, de-stress and socializing, everything in moderation.
And the interesting thing also he said to me was with longevity, he said that the main thing associated to longevity, apart from obviously the main health issues like, if you know, good diet, etc., was social interaction. And I think that's incredible. That was incredible. I was telling Debbie, and Debbie is a social butterfly, aren't you, Debbie?
Well, I mean, you could say that. I like people.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, like with everything with the blue zones and all of that lot, the reason for the longevity is the fact that, you know, they, as family, they get together. You see, there's never a moment where you feel alone. I think in our society, what's happened, which is so terrible, is that everyone thinks you get to a certain age and you go into a home. And, you know, in my grandparents' generation, that never happened. Very rarely did they send their elderly to, they kept them at home, and the older people were revered. Now they're kind of like thrown away. I think it's got to change.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Nat?
100%, 100%. It's very, very. If you look at other cultures all over the world, people don't necessarily have homes to put people in. Yeah, I agree. But the longevity thing, I'm so interested in this. Sorry, I was really quiet because I was so fascinated by what you're talking about, Alessia. So you can actually focus in on what might happen to somebody in a few years' time. Is that what this is?
Yeah, so we have a look at like various risk factors, cardiovascular risk factors for things like insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. And we're very much in the prevention is better than cure mindset. So rather than waiting until something goes wrong, at which point, you know, things have already started happening in the body, which might be difficult to reverse, we go from again, we try and make it quite empowering, because I know some people say, oh, I don't want to know if I'm at risk. But we say, look, it's always better to know beforehand, make some lifestyle tweaks to try and minimize that risk so that it doesn't become a problem.
Yes, you see, this is the book I'm reading at the moment. It says, drink as much as you want and live longer. and it's a really interesting book about alcohol and telling us the benefits that it has, as long as you have, because the reason it makes it not good for you is the fact that what it takes out of you. But if you can put back what it takes out of you and regulate it, then you don't have to stop drinking at all. You just have to. He's an alcoholic. This man is a doctor, and he treated alcoholics, and he said the problem with alcoholics is the thing that they want to do is drink. So he thought, how on earth can I help them to, you know, say don't drink, because they want to drink. So he said, if we can find a way of drinking that will not make you ill and help your liver and all of these things. And it's really interesting, because it's really is a health book about keeping healthy.
Alessia is very shocked.
I'm not. I'll have to have a read before I have an opinion.
Absolutely. I had a friend of mine's mum used to, I'd always say to her, would you like a drink? She'd say, oh, yes, please, dear. I'd love a drink. I'd like a vodka, a double vodka, and a lime redoxin. And I say, what? Lime redoxin? Yeah, because the alcohol is taking all the vitamins out, so I'm putting it right back in. And she really did this with lime redoxin and vodka she used to drink.
Yeah, I bet she was very healthy.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, but this book is really fascinating. And the fact that it is written by a doctor, it's not written by, you know, like me, for example. But
So,
it's fascinating.
I think that drinking in moderation is okay.
Well, I think, you know, again, what we work with is it's all fair and well to say to people, don't drink, or, you know, if they're struggling with their weight, don't eat. You know, it doesn't work like that. So we very much work with people to make realistic health goals. It's not sort of you live off supplements and air and live forever, because also, you know, what's the point of living longer if you're not enjoying life?
Yeah.
So we work
Actually,
with
I think psychologically though, since Dee had the results with you, it's actually given you a little switch, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And you have actually instantly started to just look at yourself and your life and what you could make even better, because you've got a full deck of good deck of cards.
Yeah.
But it's really switched how you think and feel, hasn't it?
It really has. And actually, it's really weird, because already I've lost a couple of pounds, which I wanted to do. and it's put me onto a sort of, yeah, I've got a goal now. And as you said, Alessia, when I first met you, what it does is it may not even add years on your life, but it gives you the quality of life, of the life that you have, the years that you have.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Rather than suddenly going down with something and then not being able to get up or whatever.
But I think with alcohol as well, it's very interesting, because I was thinking about when I was growing up, and this is why this is very interesting for me, because as far as my mother's family is concerned, I know nothing about the genetics, because they were all murdered, and so my mother is the only person that I would know from my family, if you see what I mean. So I don't know what her parents or any of those would have gone through.
Debbie, in case people don't know, when you say murdered, that's such a explain.
Well, they were murdered.
No, I know. Explain to the viewers.
Well, I'm sure a lot of our listeners know, they were murdered in Auschwitz, but they were murdered. So we don't know anything about their genetics, as it were. And my father's family seemed to have a very good genetics, but as far as alcohol was concerned, nobody, and I don't know if everybody grew up like this at the time, because I don't know, because you can only know what goes on in your family, but there was nobody ever drank except on really, really special family occasions, and there would be a glass of wine, but no one ever went to the pub. No one ever drank. Yeah. I didn't go to a pub till I was 18, I don't think.
Well, I'm half Italian, so my Italian family. It's a lot of wine.
A lot of wine. But then again, a Mediterranean diet is very healthy, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot more home cooking, I think, which plays a much bigger role than we ever really appreciated. Lots of fresh ingredients, lots of home cooking, but definitely not restrictive.
No.
And you are very beautiful. I mean, honestly, in real life, I was like, oh my God, you're very tall and slim and stunning, honestly. So obviously you're doing something right.
Thank you. Well, I think obviously I live what I preach. So I wouldn't say I have a particularly restrictive lifestyle, but I certainly, for example, learning from my genomics, being on the contraceptive pill was a bad idea. So I sort of came off that and lost sort of 6 kilos without changing anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think it does lasting damage if you have been on the pill? Can it
potentially again? So I'm in no way against hormones, and the contraceptive pill is obviously hugely revolutionary in terms of sort of empowering women. But there are cohorts of women who probably shouldn't be on exogenous estrogen for long periods of time. They're kind of women who break down estrogen into particular metabolites that are associated with sort of fibrotic breast changes, endometrial changes, things like that. And that's definitely me. So I also was getting a lot of digestive problems, a lot of low energy and mood, which I hadn't actually attributed to it.
And that was all part of it.
Yeah, so I'm someone who produces a particular metabolite from estrogen. So the more estrogen you put in, the more of that kind of inflammatory metabolite you make. So for me, it wasn't ideal. So stopped taking it. Also realized from my genetics that even though my GP was saying, oh yeah, your vitamin D is fine, genetically my cells don't use it very effectively. So I needed to be on a higher dose than I was otherwise taking. And all of these kind of things just really helped with weight management, with energy levels, with my sleep. Just now I can get a good solid night's sleep. Yeah, so it was all things like that I definitely live what I preach.
Wow.
My sleeping is terrible at the moment. I'm finding it really difficult.
It's because I'm not with you, Natalie.
It probably is. My brain is racing. As soon as I lie down, it seems to be my thinking time. And
but Debbie, you have a problem sleeping, don't you?
No, I don't have a problem sleeping. I have a problem waking up in the night.
Again, more and more we're realizing how important sleep is. It's when a lot of our clearance of sort of damaged proteins in the brain happens. It's when our insulin regulation happens. So getting on top of that sleep cycle is really important to make sure everything else fits into place.
Yeah. So we all need to be educated. Your clinic sounds fantastic, and I shall be dragging myself there, or
Definitely.
Dee will be dragging me there as soon as possible.
I will. It's just fantastic. It just gives you, as I said, it just gives you a vision of, you know, of what to expect and how to deal with it. And it's just very motivating, highly motivating. I think everyone should do it, really. And you're enjoying it, Alessia, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I love what I'm doing at the moment. It's really fine, and so feedback.
Can you help people with addiction?
Well, we do look, an aspect of what we look at is behavioral genetics. So we can see, for example, people's sort of dopamine receptors and things like that, and things like dopamine are very heavily associated with addiction. So one of the things we do look at, for example, is our metabolic report, which is to help people who are overeating. And then we can have a look at whether it's sort of at a sort of gut level, if it's to do with satiety, with how full you're feeling, or if it's more of a neuronal level. So those people with low dopamine I think this would be me when I'm at the counter and there's something that looks very appetizing, or, you know, going and always picking at the fridge, being like, oh, is there something stimulating to eat, something yummy? So break it down at what level people are struggling. And people often find that quite empowering to understand at what level they're struggling with their sort of behaviors and things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So fascinating, isn't it? The whole thing.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just the detail of it. I think I showed you both, didn't I? Sort of breakdown. Because
do you study people from the blue zones as well? Or have you?
So I've seen some of we were actually talking about this, I think, when you were here, Dee.
yes.
Actually, a lot of the studying of blue zones have found that there's a huge element more socially. So that's where the discussion of how social interaction is so important. That's the one thing that they have in common, is that they often have really strong communities, and they keep their sort of older generations very much integrated into day-to-day life. You know, trying to avoid this idea of, oh, you're old, sit down, I'll do it for you, and actually be like, oh, you're still perfectly capable.
Yeah.
Keep going.
It's like my daughter, when I can't work something out on the computer, and I go, how does it work? She goes, you have a brain, you can do it.
Yeah, and that's really important.
Exactly. I think that's right, because, you know, we used to have granny annexes, didn't we, in the old days? I mean, I remember my grandmother used to live very near to my mother, was always on the phone to her, and my mother was always phoning her for advice. And so she was like the elder, you know? And I think that's where things have gone wrong. But I remember meeting up with Debbie again after many years, and you saying to me, Debbie, that you'd been to the thing in LA of the Golden Girls, you know,
the first show, yeah.
The first show in Los Angeles. And you said to me, we should all do that. We should just have a big house and all live together when we're old. We're not there yet, darling. Don't worry.
Oh, no, I love that idea.
Yeah.
I've already had this discussion with friends, and think we're going to retire, we're going to live on the beach and just hang out together and have cocktails.
Well, and dogs, I'm afraid. Lots of dogs.
But I mean, again, it all plays into kind of why we're slightly different to regular clinics, in that we obviously say, look, you're born with your genetics, but the way you're living your life has a huge impact on how those genes are expressed. And so things like getting out in the sunshine, taking a dog for the walk, spending time with your friends are actually really important for your general health in a way that has previously been sort of ignored to a certain extent. It was very much just take this pill, regardless of what you're doing. But we try and approach things in a much more multifactorial way, because all of those things are so important for just a long, healthy, happy life.
I think just coming into the clinic is it gives you hope, because it's so lovely and everyone is so beautiful. You know, I said that to you all, didn't I? And Dr. Manning,
do you have some sort of Do you give them some sort of glasses when they walk in so it makes everything look lovely? Or a glass of champagne, maybe. That's what it is.
Cottage.
Where are you? Where is your clinic? Oh,
So
wait,
we're Wimpole Street, which is just next to Harley Street. So we're very central. But no, it was a thought process as well when we were sort of developing the clinic, that I think when someone goes somewhere that makes them feel better, so it smells nice, it looks nice, everyone's friendly, you already start to feel a little bit better. So we wanted to really make sure that that environment was maintained.
Well, we shall all be down to see you, because I think it's fantastic. It's so interesting, and I think that our viewers will just love it. I mean, I think everybody should, if they can, have this, have it done. Even though things like that usually frighten me, because I think, oh my God, what's God going to say? But on the other hand, if we're still alive, there's still hope, isn't there?
As I said, it's very much designed to be something that's very empowering. It's not supposed to be like, oh, here's bad news. It's supposed to be like, look, even if there are some things which we perhaps say are suboptimal, it's not a diagnosis. We're just saying these are the areas that are worth your time investing in. And these are the life changes that will really be beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you could just walk out in front of the car and get knocked over tomorrow, even if you have got longevity. So you've got to look where you're going, Dee.
That's right. I can't just assume, can I? Exactly. Oh my goodness. Can I just one more question, actually, Alessia? I know other clinics are doing similar stuff, but you have a USP, don't you? What do you think that is, apart from the fact that it's, you're all beautiful and it's very welcoming?
So there are a lot of clinics who are using, so they send off these genetic tests and the labs give back kind of a standardized report where they just sort of say, oh, you're at risk of selenium deficiency, or you're at this. So basically what's different is that we are quite clinician intensive. So me and the lead geneticist actually go through the genomics ourselves. And we actually look at some genes which are unique to us as well, which again is the upside of having a top-notch geneticist in your corner. So we do truly personalized medicine rather than just genetic testing and then what's often kind of averages that they give you back, statistical averages. So we work with people individually, very much looking at specifically what their concerns are, so homing in on those and trying to help those. But we're also one of the few places that really home in on the idea of hormones and how much hormones are really, really integral to how your gene is expressed. So we very much focus in on the progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, insulin, melatonin, vitamin D, which is in fact a hormone, and how those are regulated within your body and within your blood because they're so important for gene expression. So yeah, we move away from some of the more novel genetics, which is just sort of like, oh, did you know that you're more likely to, I don't know, wake up early? And we try and really personalize it to the individual.
Can you have injections of vitamin D, just a bumper dose?
Yeah, so some people, for example, if I saw a full cohort of suboptimal vitamin D utilization genetics, we do like to have them on quite an aggressive de-escalation protocol. So some people do get injections, especially if they're very, very deficient, or especially if they struggle to remember to take supplements daily. Some people just prefer that.
Wow. Alessia,
Well, thank you so much for coming, and please, we'd love to see you again. And see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.